Welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast, your safe space to finally focus on YOU. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your self-care coach for moms, praying wife, and mom of four. And I know that being a Christ-centered mom is such a beautiful calling, but it can be so draining. That's why it's important to make sure you are filling your own cup. On this podcast, we'll discuss practical, holistic self-care strategies to help nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because a mama who fills her own cup pours that back into her family with true peace and joy. Tune in for honest conversations about motherhood and self-care because you matter too. Blessings, mamas, and welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I'm Chari, your self-care coach for moms, and of course, your host. And this episode is for the moms who may feel like you're failing as a mom. And I know a lot of us, we go through different seasons, like even just in the same day, it seems like you can feel like you're doing an amazing job at this mom thing, but then something happens and you feel like you're failing. For those who have listened to my last few episodes, I've been battling, getting over some kind of virus that my kids got at school. And I was talking to my husband about it and I asked him to pray for me. I said, because being in the house and being sick has taken a toll on me. And he took my hands and he prayed for me. And during the prayer, he talked about how, asking God to heal my body, to bless the house, all of these different things. And as we were talking, or as he was talking and I was listening, he said, "You're a good mom." And I didn't realize until in that very moment, sometimes you just don't know you need to hear those things. In that very moment, he said, you still been taking care of the house. When I went back to work, you still been taking care of the house. You're a good mom. You're a good wife. And I didn't know until that moment that I needed to hear that. And sometimes we just need to hear, you're a good mom. So I'm telling you now, you're a good mom, no matter what you feel like you're failing at, no matter what you feel like you're overwhelmed at, you can't handle. Whatever you can't handle, I'll remind you to take it to God because he can handle it all. But no matter what, you are still a good mom. You're a good mom, so know that. And there's different reasons moms feel like they're failing. It could be you were like me, maybe, or are like me, and you were sick, so you couldn't show up as your best self. And sometimes we just, that mom guilt kicks in. That can be another one, mom guilt, for many different reasons. It could be maybe you feel disrespected by your kids. You may feel like they're ignoring you. And you may feel like that, sometimes, and I've said this before, we have to be able to disconnect our role as a mom from how our children are in life. For instance, we may not listen to God. We may not do the things he tells us to do. Does that make him any less of the amazing God that he is? No, we are just hard-headed and want to do what we want to do. So the same thing applies with our kids when they don't do the things they're supposed to do, especially when you've taught them and they go and do something different because they're human. We're all human. Then we have to know that, okay, I did what I could as a mom. If you did what you could, and then they decided to do what they wanted to do, because they're going to do that when they move out of the house anyway. Some things they're going to take and they're going to listen and they're going to do. And then other things they're not, just like we did when we moved out of our parents' homes, right? Or maybe you feel like your children don't love you. Sometimes I feel like this is tied to that performative nature of motherhood, where we're like, if I do all these things, then I'm a good mom, then my kids will love me. But guess what? Your kids love you. Just like you love your kids. Just because they're your kids, they love you as well. So just know that, hey, if you feel like your children don't love you because the way they act, then just remember what I said just a minute ago about how we're going to do what we want to do. Sometimes we're going to listen. Sometimes they're going to listen. Sometimes they're not, especially if you have teenagers and they're figuring out who they are and all the things, and they're giving you pushback. That's because they're trying to figure out, hey, who am I outside of mommy telling me this, to be this, all these emotions I'm having, hormones change. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We've been teenagers before. We have been them. So just know that, hey, your children love you. I've talked about how if you don't do self-care, just thinking about, hey, I need to show up as my best self, which that is the reason to do it. Your children want you to take care of yourself. They want you to love on yourself. They may, when you leave, they're like, mommy, no. But when they know that you come back and you're happier and you're not yelling and you're not stressed out and you're not having all this anxiety, then yes, their minds may not know it yet, But as my children have realized, mommy, go have your time. Now they may come back. When you come back, maybe you got some leftovers from that restaurant. Why you didn't give me any? Because I wasn't going for you. But still, they know that, hey, mommy went and had some time. That's good. Now she's back and she's better. Or is it, this is a big one I talk about often, you're trying to be perfect. I had a training, and it was the release mom guilt training. And the mom said the reason they felt guilt is because they were trying to be perfect. And I said, that is so good, because not so good that, that you're having this issue, but that you recognize it, because when you're trying to be perfect, that's something you're not going to reach. So you continue to go in that cycle over and over of mom guilt. I'm not perfect. And I always say, instead of trying to be perfect, seek to be purposeful. Be intentional about being purposeful as a mom, because God wants you to be the best mom for your children. If you're perfect and you never mess up, and your clothes are always perfect, your house, everything you say, blah, blah, everything's always perfect, then guess what? Your children can't relate to you, because they're human. They mess up. They're flawed. So when they see mama mess up, when they see mama crying, when they see mama looking like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this, what do I do? Let me go pray, or let me go talk to your dad, or whatever it is, let me go journal. Then guess what? They say, oh, mommy makes mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. So know that if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I got to be perfect, I got to be perfect, that's a mindset shift. You have to change. You have to change it to, how am I being intentional about being purposeful in this moment? What do I want out of this moment, out of this season, out of this conversation, whatever it is? So ask yourself, am I trying to be perfect? And if you are, then it's time to shift that, because it's causing unnecessary stress, overwhelm, and causing you to feel like you're a failure, but you're not. And some other things that you can do to combat that mindset of I'm a failure is to celebrate your wins, even I mentioned before, the micro wins. Lisa Nichols says, celebrate your micro wins. That's even the smallest things. Maybe you guys were supposed to have a family dinner where you all made dinner together, but you got sick. Maybe you were like me, you got sick. And so you were like, y'all just, maybe you did Uber Eats. Maybe you was like, hey, get a pizza out of there and y'all eat. So guess what? They ate. They ate. Yes, they ate. Okay. So that is a win. That is a win. Maybe your child did something, and maybe you're like me and you're working on gentle parenting. And what they did, baby, you had to ask Jesus to take the whole wheel, the car, the house, your mouth, everything. And you didn't say what you wanted to say like you wanted to say it, but you took it to God. You prayed about it, calmed down. Then you went and addressed the situation. Guess what? That's a win. That can be considered a big win or a small win. Maybe you didn't do all the praying and everything. Maybe it was in the moment and you were driving it. Y'all know, especially us who have multiple kids, maybe you were driving and you just like, woo, yes, Lord. Okay. And then you kept it moving. Celebrate that you did not go off and did not disrespect your child. Like you don't want nobody disrespecting you. Celebrate those micro wins, whatever it is. I don't care how small it is. That will help you to realize the good that you do every day, even the small things, because they matter. And as I mentioned before, when my husband was talking and he said, you're a good mom, you're a good wife, make sure you have people around you who are going to tell you uplifting things about yourself. So even when you feel like, I can't, what micro wins? I can't think of any. You have friends, maybe your husband, maybe your children, who will tell you. Sometimes I've seen people post on Facebook where their child was like, Mommy, you're a good mommy. And it's like, oh, like that's just what she needed to hear in that moment. I totally get that. Like, you're a good mommy. My son said, you're the best mommy ever. And I love hearing that. And then I kind of chuckle because I'm like, I'm the only mama you got. But it still felt so good to hear that, because they don't know what we're thinking about in our heads. And y'all know we're usually thinking about 30, 100,000 different things, maybe worried about those things. But just to hear that from whoever, your fellow mamas, your children, your husband, have those type of people around you that speak life to you. I'm telling you, it will make a big difference. And then lastly, pause and pray. when you need to. When you're feeling like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm not succeeding, I'm not doing good at this, pray and ask God to show you what you are doing well. I pray and I ask God to help me to see myself through his eyes. Because when we're looking through our critical eyes and we're talking about ourselves and doubting ourselves, we need a different view. So I pray and ask God to show me, to help me to see myself through his eyes. So pray, give those burdens to him. Ask for a different perspective on yourself as a woman first and as a mom. And remember, we need to learn how to separate the two, because you're not only a mom, you're a woman first. You're a human first. So when you're able to celebrate your wins as a mom, as a woman, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, business owner, employee, whatever it is, then that will help so much. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, I just want to remind you that you are a good mom. You're doing a good job. Just if you know you should be doing better, pray and ask God to show you how, and give yourself what, ladies? Grace on grace on grace, the same way that God gives you grace as well. So make sure you share this episode with a mama who needs to hear it. Save it. Take notes. Y'all, the people who are watching on YouTube, you know I'm looking down for my pen. Save it. Listen to it again and take notes. And leave a review if this blessed you. Until next time, take care. God bless. Thanks so much for joining me for the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to make yourself a priority too. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Share this podcast with another mama you love and leave a review. Also, feel free to let me know what you would like to hear about in future episodes by visiting me on Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. Until next time, take some time to take care of YOU, because you matter too.